these things were not announced ahead of time. So it was really last minute where the rumor got out that there was going to be a chavukah, that the Rebbe was going to hand out something. No one knew what it was. So at that time, I was learning in Morristown. We used to go back every Shabbos. The yeshiva used to come for Shabbos for the Fabrengen, and then go back every Mitzvah Shabbos. But we heard that there may be something tomorrow, so the yeshiva changed plans, and we took a shul, and we had yeshiva in the next morning, that shul. And by dollars, Sunday dollars was when the Rebbe gave out the contras. So the blue contras, the $2, in a plastic, that was entitled Rufei Tatan. So that included the Maimarim that the previous Rebbe said at the Chasana of the Rebbe in 1929, separate by test. It was 96 years ago. So at the end of it, there were also two Maimarim that the Rebbe himself said, explaining, elaborating on the previous Rebbe's Maimarim. So normally there was not actually a Fabrengen and Yudala Kislev. In the earlier years, it wasn't actually a very public event. The only two Fabrengens that there were in 1954, Tafshin Yudala was the 25th anniversary. That came because Rabbi Altai knocked on the Rebbe's door, which in those days was possible. The hallway was open, and he said that his parents were the official Shadchanim. They were the ones who officially made the shidduch between the Rebbe and the Rebbetzin. So he's asking for payment. The Rebbe asked, what's the payment? So he said, we would like a Fabrengen. The Rebbe agreed, and Fabrengen that Yudala Kislev. So many of the customs that we know of today for the Chuppah and the Chasana, about customs come from that Fabrengen that the Rebbe told over how it was at the time of his Chasana and different instructions that the previous Rebbe gave. And then the next time was another 25 years, at the 50th anniversary, in Tafshin Lamed Tes, which was then 1978. So the Rebbe also Fabrengen and said the mimer that we're going to begin to learn. So this mimer is entitled Asher Baruch Sosin B'Simcha, which was based on the previous Rebbe's mimer that he said at the Suda of the wedding. Because at the Kabbalah Kwanim, he said a different mimer, and at the Suda he said a second mimer. So that's what we're is the Rebbe's mimer explained previous Rebbe's mimer.
Which one?
The 50th anniversary. So it's interesting that at that time, the Rebbe was asking, where do we find any source in the Torah to celebrate an anniversary? We don't find it. And he said two things. He said, number one, that the Rebbeim, many of them didn't have the opportunity to celebrate a 50th anniversary. And number two, even if they did something special, we don't know about it. Even though the previous Rebbe did speak about different, reveal different things throughout the years, that way they conducted themselves in the Beit Harav, the Rebbe's family. But when it comes to anniversary, we don't know. The Rebbe says when we didn't come together, we add a Torah, so that makes it into a Torah celebration. But there still has to be some kind of remnant, some kind of hint for Jewish people celebrating an anniversary. So the Rebbe actually quoted saying of the Chachamim that quoted in the Malchus of this week, Chaya, that's really what the whole Sikha is based on. It says, that when you go to a city, a new country, you can follow the customs of the place, as long as it does not contradict the customs of the Torah. You should use out those the mentality of the place in Avodas Hashem. So in America, being that we find that there are Jewish people celebrate an anniversary, so too many other countries, and they call their friends, and they get together, so there must be, this is an opportunity to use this in Avodas Hashem. And once it becomes a time where you can get together to strengthen each other in Torah mitzvahs, so then it becomes Minhag Yisroel, the Torah, the Jewish custom actually acquires the importance of Torah itself. That's what the Rebbe explained.
But also like it's repeated.
Correct.
things like the unity between us.
Correct, correct, and that's exactly the point. Nevertheless, it doesn't say anywhere clearly about celebrating it. And for that matter, even a birthday is not mentioned. That's why when the Rebbe started the whole campaign of the birthdays and everyone celebrating it, it was met with some opposition because many Jewish communities weren't used to anything like that. The truth was, though, that tzaddikim did celebrate their birthday, but it was not publicized. The idea was that the Rebbe said that throughout the years, the Rebbe did encourage individuals, but it was only in Tafshem and Chet that the Rebbe publicized it and asked that that should be applicable to everyone. So just like it was about birthday, similar is in regards to an anniversary. But obviously, it's to come together and add a Torah mitzvah is turns it into an idea of kedusha. It happens to be that the famous rugged shaver going, Rabbi Rosen, the Rabbi got slicha from him, and he was one of a kind. The Rabbi actually said about him that we were Zoychen, from which he had come to put certain heads into this world. He had a totally novel approach to learning Torah, connecting seemingly unconnected ideas one to the other, so taking concepts of Torah that seemingly completely unrelated and answering one with the other. And they were once discussing, not the Rebbe, but the Rebbe was discussing with someone that a wedding is not just a one-time event, but it's a continuous, it's a full shachar, something that's constant. It's not just that the husband is mekadosh the kala, and therefore it affects the future. It's a continuous effect. So the one that the Rebbe was talking to was saying, if that's true, then I want to wish you mazel tov. That's the Rebbe. I want to wish you mazel tov for your wedding that was years ago. No, the first thing was another Rav. They were debating this concept. And the Rav answered back, you don't have to. The first mazel tov is also continuous. So in other words, if the wedding is continuous, the mazel tov is also. Okay. So basically, I think we'll begin the minor. We don't have forever. I actually have a student that so the Rebbe is explaining the seventh bracha of the Shabbat bracha. So the Chasana began with the Kabbalah Kohen. The previous Rebbe said a minor l'chadoidim. Later at the meal, at the Suda, he said a second minor, a Shabbat of the Simcha, which was from the words of the seventh bracha of the Shabbat bracha. So this minor was said, as mentioned on Gedalah Kislev Tafshin Lamed Tes, 1978, and it was edited for the 14th of Kislev Tafshin Nun. So it came out then at the Kudros, and the bracha says, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech ha'olam, blessed are you Hashem, our God, the King of the universe, Asher bara sasim b'simcha, who He created a joy and happiness, chasen v'chala, He created a chasen and a kala. And then it says different expressions of simcha, altogether adding up to 10 different expressions. Hila, Rina, Tifta, Vecheta, which is gladness, jubilation, cheer and delight, Ava, V'achva, love and friendship, Shalom, Bereos, harmony, and fellowship. So you see the bracha with the translation. And this is what the Rebbe is going to be focusing on. So we can focus inside the text. I'm going to read from the inside. And there's some English captions on the bottom. So the Rebbe, my father-in-law, quote his mimer with this heading that's printed in Drush Chafana, the year Tafresh Pei Test, 5689, and he quotes the Zohar Parshas Truma. That the Zohar in Parshas Truma explains the meaning of all of the 7 brachas that are said at a chasana. The truth is, they're very interesting because sometimes they're hard to understand. You can read the translation, but what exactly do they mean, and what exactly does it represent? So it explains there the 7 brachas esoterically. And concerning the 7th bracha, which is the final bracha that includes all the others, the Zohar reads as follows. Page 4. There's a number on the bottom of the page. So it says there in the Zohar, that this 7th bracha sustains and keeps all of the other brachas standing. In other words, it raises up all of the others. And from this 7th bracha, everything is blessed. And it includes the 10 utterances.
That all needs to go upstairs.
As we'll soon see, it refers to the 10 utterances that Hashem created the world with. The Hashem created the world with.
Oh, I know. No, not upstairs.
And there are 10 things. And that's what the Zohar says, that this bracha is including that these 10 expressions of simcha are also corresponding to the 10 utterances that Hashem created the world. This bracha includes the upper realms, the lower realms, and that's why there are 10 expressions of simcha in this bracha. So the Rebbe is actually pinpointing on one point that the previous Rebbe mentioned in the Maimer. The truth is that you see this more than once, that the previous Rebbe's Maimer is more avoided and more deep with the field. It goes off. It speaks about Avram Avinu, how he was so generous with money-wise, monetarily, with him. He himself went to do chesed. He went beyond the letter of the law to do chesed. And he speaks at length about that. He also speaks about how he davened for people of Sodom, which they were the exact opposite. Abraham was, in essence, good, and the people of Sodom were, in essence, evil. And then he goes on to a whole lengthy explanation about what it means to be an evil person, a schlechter mensch. It's very, very strange. In this matter, the Previous Rebbe goes on at length, almost till the end. He only ends off the last 2 lines on the time in B'Tov. We should end off on a good note. But he speaks about the what to watch out for. And he contrasting Abraham with the people of Sodom. That part the Rebbe here doesn't get into at all. Those 3 or 4 pages of the mind that the Rebbe doesn't deal with here. The Rebbe is focusing only on the Zohar that the previous Rebbe quotes. He's going to spend the rest of the mind explaining the Zohar. So far, the Zohar is saying that this bracha is a very general bracha. It happens to be the 7th bracha. And it includes the spiritual realms, it includes the lower realms. And this is corresponding to the 10 expressions of joy mentioned in this bracha. And the previous Rebbe continues and explains. When it says that it includes the upper realms and the lower realms, it means that it includes the Aseret HaDibros, which include the entire Torah. So the 10 expressions that are mentioned here of Simcha include the Aseret HaDibros that were given at the time of Matan Torah. And it also includes the lower realms, meaning the 10 utterances that Hashem created the world. And being that this bracha includes all of them, these are the 10 expressions of Simcha, excluding the words Chaf and Bekala. If you count suffering, Simcha, Gila, Rina, Gita, Chadva, Ava, Achva, Shalom, Kureyot is 10, excluding the 2 words Chaf and Kala. Why? Because in Kedusha, Hashem created the world with 10 utterances, and all of the spiritual realms are subdivided into 10 spheres. Hashem created everything. The entire Seder Hishtalshalos of all the spiritual realms is divided into 10 spheres. And therefore, there has to be a hamshaka of simcha in each sphere, which the simcha brings shleimus. When you have simcha, when something is infused and permeated with simcha, that brings perfection to whatever aspect, whatever thing we're dealing with at that time. Then the Zohar ends off and continues concerning the seventh bracha. The Kohen Inun Yisrael, that the Jewish people have merit. The Inun Zachar and Sater Kegavla de Le'ela, that we merited that the lower realms should be correspondent and they should mirror and reflect the upper world.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Sarah, you have to mute.
Okay, so
Sarah, please mute.
yes, so when it says Ema Banim Smecha, so it says Bina, it's called like the mother of the Sfiros. And when a person understands and there's understanding, there's knowledge, that brings simcha. In other words, when something is above your understanding, it doesn't permeate you. But when something is completely understood, it brings simcha. But all the Sfiros need to be permeated with the simcha of Bina. Because without the simcha, it's lacking. So the Zohar ends up that the Jewish people have a merit that they're able to accomplish that the lower realms should mirror and reflect the upper world. Behind it, it means Shabracha Higam Shabbat Veidam Bracha. What we say at Shabbat Brachas is praising and thanking Hashem for the fact that the Jewish people, through our avodah, we have the ability to refine and purify the sata, the lower realm, our physical world, that it should be reflecting the supernal realms. And through this, the Jewish people have the ability to draw down godliness, or inside the unlimited level of godliness throughout all of the spiritual worlds of Hishtalshalas. In other words, the four worlds up until and including our physical world. So this is quoting the Zohar, just like the Previous Rebbe quotes it, and now the Rebbe is going to delve into it a little bit more to understand what exactly is this all about. I mean, you read the bracha simply, this is, without the Zohar, we wouldn't have a clue of any of this. So we're saying that these 10 expressions correspond to the Sadibris, or corresponds to the Dharma Maras that Hashem created the world, and the ability that the Jewish people have, specifically in this physical world, to transform even the spiritual world. So page 5, chapter 2. So the Rebbe explains, what is this idea that the Jewish people have the ability through our avodah in this world to draw godliness throughout all of the spiritual. In other words, in the spiritual realm, godliness is felt, godliness is apparent. Here we don't have that. But what we do have is we have all of the buttons. That every move we make here is extremely significant in the spiritual realms. But what does this have to do with the Chassan and Kala? Why does the Zohar say this in connection to the Chassan and Kala? So the Rebbe explained, because everything below is nishtalshel, it evolves from upper world. There's nothing that exists in the lower world that doesn't have a shorish, a root in the higher realms. Or Balashin HaTanya, to quote the Tanya, that, for example, the reason why our neshama has 10 faculties of the soul is because it's reflecting the 10 supernal spheres. And so too in a physical Chassan and Kala. That the Chassan and Kala in this world represent the Chassan and Kala of the spiritual realm, which is HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Knesset Yisrael, Hashem, the Jewish people. And it's explained in the Midrash Chazal that Chassan and Kala, that the whole metaphor of a Chassan and Kala in Shir HaShirim, Chaya, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Knesset Yisrael, is referring to Hashem and the Jewish people. But K'mayim Razal, like our sages say, V'yom Chastu Natzai, then Matan Torah. Then Matan Torah, when the Jewish people received the Torah, we heard the Asar Sadibras, was the chasana between the Yidden and the Eibishter. The Matan Torah who Indian had his the Kadosh Baruch Hu Knesset Yisrael was the beginning of the process of the Chatan. Or specifically, there's Kiddushin, there's the giving of the ring, which is the Kiddushin, and then there's the Nisuin, which is representing the Chuppah, so on. Today we do both together. But the Matan Torah was the first step, the Kiddushin, and it says in the Medrash that Nisuin L'Maisa Mashiach, the ultimate bond between Hashem and the Jewish people will be realized at the time of the Gemilah. And we could say, Shezehu Inyan B'toiv Lev Mishtatamit. The Shulchan Aruch Chaim, the first section, ends up that a toiv lev, somebody who has goodness of heart, is constantly feasting. What's the suda? What's the simcha that a Jew can have every single day? Because Matan Torah represents the wedding between the Jewish people and Hashem. And this really is experienced each and every day. Every single day, Matan Torah repeats itself. It's not that Hashem gave us the Torah 3,337 years ago, but Hashem is giving us the Torah today. That's why the text of the blessing that we say every morning before learning Torah, we don't say Baruch Atah Hashem Hashem Nasana Torah, that Hashem gave us the Torah. We say Noisena Torah. We say present tense that Hashem is the giver of the Torah today. Now sometimes we may not feel like that, but that doesn't change the truth. The fact is that there is a hamshacha. Hashem is giving to us the Torah each day. We have to be in tune with that and be able to receive it. To such an extent that it says every time a person, a Jew, sits at a corner, any corner of the world, and learns Torah, Hashem sits opposite him and is saying those words at that very moment. So the Torah is alive and well, and it's present at this moment. We're not just repeating something said in the past. And the Alter Rebbe explains that this isn't just a metaphor, and not just something that sounds nice, but it's the exact same way Hashem said the Torah the first time. When a Jew sits and learns Torah, Hashem is repeating it at that time. That's why it says that what is the proper way for a person to learn Torah? That just like then, the Jewish people were fear and trembling because they felt the godliness at the time of the giving of the Torah. If we were to actually put ourselves in this frame of mind and be in tune of what's really going on when we're learning Torah, we would also be able to experience the same thing and feel the same trepidation, so to speak, not in a negative way, but in awe of the godliness that's being revealed when we learn Torah. And the four expressions that our sages use, Ema, Yira, fear, and awe, Reses, Vizea, trembling, and even sweating. This is referring to the four letters of Hashem's name, Yod Kei Vav Kei. Because at the time of Matan Torah, what was so special about Matan Torah at the giving of the Torah? It's because Hashem forged a connection with each and every individual Jew. That every single Jew became permeated and has a direct line with Hashem, with Yod Kei Vav Kei. This relation applies even in our learning of Torah now. The second paragraph on the page, on page 5. Through us learning Torah today, not only are we connecting ourselves with a wondrous unity, like the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, Yichun Nifla, with Hashem, but we're also simultaneously, just by the very fact of learning Torah, we are refining the world around us, that the world should become a vessel and a receptacle for godliness. Because through this, that the Torah descends through all of the spiritual realms until it was enclosed in the physical matters of this world. Because the way they learn Torah in Gan Eden, it's not dealing with physical matter. It's the shortage of each mitzvah, the root of each halacha. And there it's learned completely on a spiritual plane. So the fact that the Torah that was given to us is revealed and deals with physical matter, it doesn't change the essence of the Torah. The essence of the Torah is the same. But the fact that the Torah was enclosed in physicality, in order that a human being should be able to grasp it with our own thought, speech, and action, through this, through our Torah learning in this world, we actually affect the world itself. Known, and this is the connection of the 10 utterances that Hashem used to create the world to the Aseres HaDibros. What's the connection? When it speaks about the gifts that the Nesiim, the 12 tribes, brought to dedicate the Mishkan, so they brought animals, and so to the Kalim, the kaf was the spoon. So it says Asara Hakaf B'Shekel HaKodesh. It says that it was, the measurement was 10. It says the word 10 twice, referring to the 10 steps, the 2 steps of 10, the 10 of the Aseres HaDibros, and the 10 utterances, the Asara Mamoros, that Hashem created the world. Therefore, automatically, through us occupying ourselves in Torah, it affects the Torah, affects the 10 utterances that Hashem is creating the world with. In other words, infusing the world with more godliness. That the world also should become a shekel HaKodesh, a holy shekel. So far, what the Rebbe is explaining is the Zohar said that the people are Zohar, that we are able to accomplish that the physical realm should reflect the spiritual realm. It should be transparent. And he's saying that the Chassid and Kala below stem from the Chassid and Kala in the spiritual realms. And through a Yid learning Torah, automatically this affects the world. Page 6. So now that I was going to explain that it works both ways, that the Aseres HaDibros affects the world, and through our avodah in the world, it actually also accomplishes an aliyah in the Torah. This that the Asara Maimaret and the Aseres HaDibros are corresponding to each other. The intention here is that each one actually is mashriya and affects the other. That just like as mentioned previously, through the learning Torah, which is included in the every aspect of Torah is included in the Aseres HaDibros. We automatically affect the world that is created in the 10 utterances. And like the Zohar says, that Hashem looked into Torah and He created the world. That the world is created through the Asara Memaris as they exist in Torah. There should be light. In other words, the Torah is the blueprint for the world. First you have the Torah, and then the Aseres HaDibros descended into what's called Milin Dehedyaita, mundane words, which compared to the words of Torah, the 10 utterances are termed as mundane words compared to the Aseres HaDibros, to bring the world into existence. So just like the Aseres HaDibros affect the world, so too is in the other way around. It's a two-way street. That our actions in this world are so significant that whatever we do in this world that was created with the Asara Maimaris, Midlin Dehedyaita, it affects the Torah. There is an interpretation that the Asara Maimaris, even though normally we say that Aseres HaDibros are loftier than the Asara Maimaris, there is another interpretation that the Asara Maimaris that Hashem used to create the world is actually higher than the Aseres HaDibros. And the Rebbe explains here, how could that be? We can explain this based on how the Rebbe says in Chaya, where can we pass in a halacha specifically in this world? It's a best and a Sanhedrin in this world when a person, and a shama is in a guf, they have the ability to make a final halachic ruling to such an extent. Says in the pasuk, that the malachim come to listen to the Torah learning of the Jewish people, that the spiritual realms come to listen to the Chiddushei Torah that's studied specifically in this world. Until the Gemara says in Masechta Rosh Hashanah that Hashem says to the malachim, Lima atam soid, why are you asking me? I and you go down and hear how did the Beis Din Shalmata, how did the physical Beis Din, how did they, what halachic ruling did they make? Because that changes the actual existence and it affects the Torah above. So what we're seeing here is that not only does Torah learning affect the world to refine the world, but it's specifically fulfilling learning Torah, fulfilling mitzvah. As the neshama, the soul, is alive, physical body, that has the ability that even a neshama without a body does not have. And so too, more specifically, this applies to a chassan and kala. The being that the chassan and kala below, their source is from the chassan and kala above. Which in the supernal realms, this refers to the 6 midos and malchus, chesed, gvura, tferes, netzach, hod, yesod, and malchus. So the 6 midos are the level of chasman, the malchus, the receiver is the level of kala. And the Rebbe says that in the supernal realms, really chassan and kala was much higher than the world of Atzilus. Even in the level that's before the tzimtzum, before the first contraction, where Hashem concealed the Arei sight that existed before any of the spiritual worlds were even thought of, so to speak. Right? So there's chassan and kala there as well. In Mavur Barucha Badrusha Kedushas Amar Maharash, the Rebbe Maharash explains that on each level there's chassan and kala, to such an extent that before the tzimtzum, not only kabbalistically, there's the Arein Zayt and there's the Kaf, and then he explains that it refers to even higher than that. That before the tzimtzum, there's also the level of chassan and kala. Nevertheless, all of that does not compare to what's accomplished specifically in this world. Specifically, when a person is alive in this world, and what a mitzvah that they do in this world surpasses all of that. That means when there's a physical chassan bekala, and we're fulfilling the mitzvah of being mesameach, of bringing joy to a physical chassan and kala, this accomplishes that there should be an additional godly revelation in the highest, loftiest levels of chassan, of the supernal chassan and kala, as they are b'sharshim harishim, in their very first source before the tzimtzum. And this is just like it is about a chassan and kala, so too about Torah mitzvahs in general. That just like in regard to Torah mitzvahs can only be performed when the neshama is enclosed in a body, that through the mitzvahs that we do, we accomplish yichud kol shabricho shchinte, that we unite midas and malchus, and so too higher and higher in each world on its own level. So up until this point, the Rebbe quoted the Zohar that the previous Rebbe mentioned in the Maimer, and he explained it. The rest of the Maimer, the Rebbe is going to get into, is going to ask a question, and actually 2 questions, and he's going to answer seemingly only one of them. This is one of the Maimarim that it seems like that the first question is not answered. On the other hand, we can dig and try to find that maybe the question is there. Now it happens to be that the Frierdiker Rebbe asked the same question, and he also didn't answer the first question.
Oh.
So we have to see. Yeah. Elsewhere, I haven't found it yet. I heard Rabbi Yisroel tried to give an explanation. It's a possible explanation, but I haven't found that it says anywhere clearly. So we don't have that much time, but I think we'll learn the question inside. Okay. So we didn't get to the question. So we didn't get to the question.
Oh, okay. I thought I missed
No, we're going to ask the question, and then the rest of the timer, I think I'm going to give a summary outside. Okay, Gimel. Now the previous Rebbe asked the question. If you look at the text of the original Brocha, if you look at the beginning, why does it say Hashem created joy and happiness, and then go and say the other 8 expressions of joy? Why doesn't it say Hashem created the idea of chassan and kala, which we have to see what does it mean? What is that? What does it mean? He created chassan and kala, which we'll soon see. And then say chassan and simcha, gila, rina, say it all 10 together. Why is he interrupting chassan and simcha, saying chassan and kala, and then the other 8 expressions of simcha? Either say chassan and kala first, or say all the 10 expressions, say chassan and kala later.
Why the order?
Yeah, why the order? Typically, he says, the whole simcha is not, we're not saying Hashem created chassan and simcha. We're saying Hashem created the chassan and kala, and we have a mitzvah to rejoice the chassan and kala, to bring simcha to the chassan and kala. We're bringing simcha to the chassan and kala. And like it says, the Gemara says, how do you dance before the kala? In other words, we're bringing simcha to the chassan and kala. That's the first question. Second question, it's also not understood. What does it mean? Hashem created the chassan and kala. But now we're talking of, yes, there's chassan and kala in the physical realm. There's also chassan and kala, as we said, in the spiritual realm. And we said that chassan and kala exist even before the world were created. In other words, in God's own light, in the level of godliness that preceded the whole Seder herself, that preceded all of the spiritual realms, there's also a concept of chassan and kala, of a giver and a receiver. What does it mean Hashem created it? L'shem bria. What's the question? Even the level of kala, which is Sfiras HaMalchus, Malchus is one of the 10 spheres of Atzilus. Like it says, there are 10, not 9. Because Malchus is the shlemus. It brings perfection to the spheres of Atzilus. Without Malchus, you don't have all 10 spheres. All the more so in regard to chassan, which is referring to midas of Atzilus. The world of Bria only comes after Atzilus. There's the 4 realms of Atzilus, then there's the world of Bria, creation, the world of Yetzirah, the world of formation, right until the world of action, up until this physical world. So Bria seems to be after Malchus of Atzilus. How can you say about chassan and kala in the spiritual sense that the term Bria, that it's created? Seemingly, it's a level that's even before creation. So it's a very interesting question. And the first question about why it says chassan and simcha before chassan and kala, seemingly the Rebbe doesn't have. You could probably dig deep and find the answer within the rest of the Maimer, but it doesn't say clearly. The rest of the Maimer, the Rebbe is going to explain how is it possible to say the term bria, creation, and the supernal chassan and kala, because seemingly it's even before the world was created in Atzilus, and then ultimately before the Tzimtzum is before there's any existence. Bria is something of creating something from nothing. And seemingly chassan and kala is referring to even a level that's before the existence of any spiritual entity. So he explains this. We'll learn one more paragraph inside and the rest.
Reminds me of the thing that Hashem is busy with. And that he is busy with it is to be freedom. The whole thing that the Rebbe, the thing that Hashem is busy with is simcha. like being happy, to freedom. Yeah, so yeah, so I think this is the main point, even before like the vision of like us and Kala. So us and I mean before us and Hashem as the Kala, there is the unity. Everything is one. Hashem is busy with happiness. But also show us how the happiness is one of the most important things. Then everything that we do, we need to do it with the happiness. Like eyes within a food, you have to do it with it. Not like-
Otherwise, it's missing. He said
Yeah.
that in the beginning. So he,
Yes, this is it. It's the one.
the Rebbe explains here, quoting from the previous Rebbe, the previous Rebbe prophesies that it says in Yeshayahu, there's a prophet that says, "Lo noitar kel." That before me, Kel, which is one of Hashem's name, was not formed. He asks, how is it possible to say in the name of Hashem, one of Hashem's 7 names that cannot be erased? The expression noitzar, that it formed. How did it form? Where did it happens to be that in that verse Hashem is negating it, but where's there even a thought to say that you could use the word yetzira, formation, in regard to Kel? So it's the same question. How could we speak? When we're speaking about Chassan and Kala, how could we use the expression bar? So the Rebbe explains that the fact is that even on the highest levels, Kel, the level of Chesed. And the world was actually created with Chesed. The whole purpose of the world is Hashem's desire to do kindness. That Hashem used Chesed to create the entire world. That even though each day of the 6 days of creation are represented by a different Sphira, Chesed, and then the second day Gvura, and the third day Tiferes, but all of it is mixed with Chesed. The whole motivation to create the world in the first place is to do Chesed. The hated Lebrua, that Hashem wants to do good to his creation. So even if he's explaining that the very name Kel, even though it's Hashem's name, but on the loftiest levels, the idea of Kel, Chesed, is a descent from his essence. He's going out of his essence, that there has to be, in other words, so to speak, another being. That obviously the truth is, there is no other being other besides Hashem. But Hashem created the world that it should feel as if we're an entity of ourselves, that we should, through the tzimtzum, should be able to draw godliness into the world. So it happens to be that the rest of the Maimer is a very intellectual aspect of Chassidus that is explaining this idea. How is it possible to use the word formation in regard to the name of Hashem Kel? How is it possible to use the word bar, to create, in regard to even the loftiest levels of Chassan and Kala? And the Rebbe is explaining that the fact is that the second there was even a thought in Hashem's mind, so to speak, that means in our insight before the existence of all of the Shashlet, it says Ki chafetz chesed, Hashem desired to do good. That's a desire even before he did the actual chesed. So chesed for sure is already connected to the world. That means even before the world came into being, the act of the chesed is termed as it is connected to the word formation, because it's even a lower level. The chesed is when he actually is using the chesed to create the world. But before the chesed, there's something called chafetz chesed, which is the desire is tainug, is pleasure. That Hashem had a pleasure that he desires a dwelling place for him in this lowest realm. This desire, you can't explain why. There's no explanation why he had this desire. But the desire, before he actually did so, this is chafetz chesed. But the very fact that there's even this desire, so to speak, to go out of himself is a concept of a descent. And that is what the word chassan means. The word chassan means just dargin, to go down a level. In other words, there's the level of Hashem as there's only him, and there's nothing else. And then there's how Hashem wants that there should be a world. That say symptom like it should say that the fact that Hashem concealed himself doesn't mean that there really is any other entity besides him. There is nothing else besides Hashem. But from our perception, that we feel as if we're our own entity. So this is the meaning of the word chassan, which means to go down a level, and he explained that this is referring to even the loftiest levels. As soon as there's any thought of desiring that there should be chesed to be able to create all of the spiritual realms, that's already the level of chesed. That's the level of already going down a level. And then he explains the tzimtzum. Now Hashem contracted his own life, that really the tzimtzum itself is also coming from chesed. Just like a father wants to teach his son, he has to contract his own mind. He has to put his own thoughts into words that the son will be able to comprehend. So even when there's din, when there's gvura, when there's a tzimtzum, that itself is really stemming from chesed. That it's really the ultimate expression of chesed, because if not, it would be too much to handle, too much in other words, a student would not be able to comprehend the teachings of his teacher or the child of his father. His father wants to express himself. He has to lower himself down to the level that the child will be able to relate to. And then the Rebbe ends up, if we go to page 10. The Rebbe said that this is Asher Bara Satan Chatan Bekala, which is referring to the loftiest level of Chatan Bekala, which from it come and descend the Chatan Bekala as it is in this world. The Rebbe goes on that Chatan is the level of Chusdarga, going down the level. Kala comes from the word Kiloyin, to be consumed. And Chatan not be that my soul is yearning. So in other words, Chatan is Malmaya Lamata from above to below. Chatan is Malmata Lamaya. The Kala is Malmata Lamaya from below to above. And the Rebbe says, Al Yidei Avodas Yisrael Lamata. The Rebbe is emphasizing, and this is really the theme of the whole minor. And the lesson from the whole intellectual discussion is that the avodah, the main purpose of the world, is the avodah of the Jewish people here in this physical world, and specifically the simcha of Chassan and Kala. That through this Torah mitzvahs in general, specifically the mitzvah of simcha of Chassan and Kala, accomplishes and draws godliness into all the supernal realms, and up until and including this lowest level. And this will bring about ultimately, through our avodas Hashem in this world, this will ultimately bring about that our world will become and reach the perfection of as it was before Chetei Chadas. And the truth is, because every descent is for the sake of an aliyah, of an ascent, we're not just going to go back to the way it was, but we're going to be even on a greater, loftier level than we were even before Chetei Chadas. So the world was created with perfection. Elo told us the world was created in a perfect sense. Mashiach is the idea of Peretz, that the shleimus, the perfection that Mashiach will bring to the world will be even greater than it was in Gan Eden, the Gan Eden Bikatan, as it was by Adam and Chava before the Eitz Hadas. The Rebbe ends up that the revelation of all of this will be B'kar of Mamish, should be B'chesed, the Barachim with kindness and mercy, of B'toiv and Nirav and Igla with open and revealed good through our avodah of Torah mitzvahs throughout all the 6,000 years of creation, and especially through revealing, spreading the teachings of Tzidit, the Torah of the Baal Shem Tov, and especially as they were revealed, the Torah of the Alter Rebbe, especially after Yutis Kislev, which through this causes the coming of Malkim of Mashiach, which then will be the ultimate nisuin, the wedding between Hashem and the Jewish people, not just the Jewish people as a whole, but the wedding of Hashem with every individual Jew. In the ultimate sense, like it says, that just like when you went out in the days when you went out of Egypt, so too now, by this Geula, I will show you wonders. Niflois is nun, flois, 50. Flois, the word niflois is from the word tela, wonder, but nun flois, 50 flois. Even the wonders of today will be even wonders compared to the miracles in the flois that were by Yitzias Mitzrayim, the Karev Mamish, and Heda.
Wow, good. Also, that they said that the end of the Amar is talking about Mashiach. Mashiach is like basically like the redemption.
When all this will be realized.
Yeah, it's like if you change the letter, it seems
Correct. Yeah.
it's
Amen. Yes.
Again about these things, Hashem and the Jewish people, like the unity for everything. Because in the time of redemption, we're all going to see how we are not one thing, not two, not pattern and salad.
Okay. Chaya. A mouth. Have to celebrate our country. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.